Hey, just so you know,
we have a cowbell instead. Ready? Go.
Oh, okay.
We did an entire show of a tour of a Pinterest house. Got to the end, toward the end, 30 minutes
really
in,
bad.
and none of the audio was working.
Chief, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
And then,
What's up, y'all? This is Pigeon John over here with the shaved mustache, looking all fresh and ish. Banana Republic, homeboy. Representing, you are tuned in now to
Moon Garden Media
podcast with my big homeboy,
Steve Beta.
Steve Bay.
Let's hear it for the Moon Man.
Thanks, Moon Man.
Whoa!
Post. It's already saying live video interrupted. Just letting you know.
mine's good. Oh, you
Okay.
don't have a nest or anything, do you?
The good news is we'll only start to sweat toward the end of the show. All right, so
You're just like,
hi you. They're
Is there a closet we can hide in?
Pat dry.
they're extra right now. We're supposed to talk at the beginning. You remember the beginning?
Hello.
All right, so
Did that fix it?
it actually did it. Everything's going live right now.
So you're telling me I have to have a sauna in my house for you to have a show?
I'm not telling you that at all.
Wrong.
I'm not. Are you on HD? Are you on HD? Because right now it's showing up all fuzzy.
A little fuzzy.
Yeah, it wasn't fuzzy until after I turned the air conditioning. It's because I turned the air conditioning off that it got fuzzy.
It goes whichever works.
All right, so
If it's really
We're good.
all right, so you
Yummy.
did you see Hard Knocks?
I did not.
You don't have HBO?
Did not.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
You're one of those?
I'm one of those.
You have no idea what Jarvis Landry said
I
yesterday.
have no idea. I haven't even watched. I was gonna go today and watch clips and I did not.
All right, I got two words for you. You ready? It's kind of one word. Just say bless him.
Bless them.
So no matter where you go, the next 48 hours, like if you're going to Bible camp or wherever you're going, you just walk around and you just say bless him. Just
I'm
say
gonna try this.
bless him.
I'm gonna try this.
So you gotta try it. Say it.
Bless them.
No, you're not saying it right.
All right.
Bless him.
Bless them.
Yeah, bless him. Bless him.
Why am I saying this?
Just you gotta trust me.
You gotta. I don't.
If you want to be cool, I'm trying to make you cool right now. Okay, just say bless him.
I don't know if I want to take cool tips.
Like you do something good. Now listen,
from
you
Hank.
Comment on that.
I don't know.
You do
what
something
cool
good-
status you have.
I have cool stats. You do something with 31 that's cool. You just go bless him.
Okay.
Just bless him.
All right.
All right.
All I saw your post about everybody's gonna be jumping on the bandwagon and
Well,
bands are gonna come out, and I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
gotta figure out what's going on.
And then Callaway. Okay. So when starting to drive a car that you haven't driven in a while, number one, make sure there aren't bullets in it. Number two, make sure that there's no pieces of guns in it. And number three, make sure there isn't nickel bags of weed hanging
And
out.
that explains another post. Sometimes when Hank posts things,
It's
I
not,
think,
no. Don't blame Hank.
No,
This isn't.
no,
I'm not
your
involved.
post. I'm like, today you posted a rental car. Make sure there's nothing under the seat. And
Whenever
I'm
you
like,
get a car,
Did he
make sure
rent
that-
a car
make sure
or
there's-
something?
Make sure there's no weed under the seat.
There are times where I go to comment on something. I'm like, I better not. I'm just
telling
gonna
you.
let it go.
I'm just telling you. All right, folks, you're starting to tune in. Hello, Colleen. Thanks for joining us. Todd, thanks for joining us. I suppose we should do a show. We've got a Cleveland triathlete on with us, and a power builder, and a teacher as well. All right, so and a mom. All right, point being,
Friend.
let's do a show. Let's do a show.
We've got a great show tonight. Ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Akron's hottest, fastest growing show, 330 to go. I'm your host, Hank Ford, by the dulcet tones of Danny Marie.
How you doing, Hank?
Just living the dream.
Just living the dream.
Tonight's episode is brought to us once again by LaBelle's Barber Parlor. LaBelle's is located inside what is now known as the East End, which are the Goodyear historical buildings. Their state-of-the-art facility boasts big screen TVs, a coffee bar, compressed
At orderacme.com, and you will get $3.30 off any order that's greater than $50. So literally groceries at the tips of your fingers. You put that order in online, you show up, and it's ready for you, okay? So do it. Just do it. Do it, all right? Hey, folks, hit the share button right now. Please share and and smash that like button for us right now. Also, make sure that you review the show. It always helps us with our sponsors to see there's a lot of reviews and that people tune in. It doesn't matter that we get thousands and thousands and thousands of views if nobody says anything about us, okay? So we need more feedback as we continue to expand our platform. We're literally getting ready to add on 3 new shows onto the network in addition to what we already do with the Hop and the Bean, which focuses on beer and coffee, what's not to like, all right? But tonight, we're going to be having an interesting show on our hands, right? So we'd like to approach the discussion. We're going to try and do this from as political-free a zone as possible, which will be hard to do, all right? So we're going to discuss some potentially controversial topics tonight, but we're going to do our best to engage in constructive discussion to better understand where we are right now with education in society in general, and also specifically where we are in and around the 330, okay? So right now I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelists. We've got 3 on camera and 1 off, but right now we'll start with the 3 that are on, okay? So we got Carrie, we got Mike, and we got Rita. So we're going to kind of go across the way, and we're just going to introduce our folks. So right now we'll start with Rita. Hello, Rita. Say hi, Rita. Everybody, hi, Rita.
Hello.
Okay. So Rita, right now, go ahead and tell us your, just give us kind of a brief background.
I got you. All right, so I am a 4-9 math, science, and language arts teacher. We're good. Moving forward. Okay, we're good. I was specializing in 7th and 9th grade science at East High School. Currently, I'm taking some time off to raise my 3 beautiful children, and that's my exciting life. That's what I got.
Okay. Can you tell us what schools you've been at previously besides East? Or?
Jeez. Okay, so I've been at East, Goodyear, Goodrich, AOC, which is Akron Opportunity Center, which is, I don't know that that's technically still in place, which is for extreme at-risk behavioral issues, can't focus in the mainstream, have to be taken out and then work towards put back in the mainstream.
Okay.
I've worked at Innis. And I've also done some Miller South time. I've been around Akron. I've been around Akron Public Schools in the last 9.5 years.
Very nice. Okay. Next we have Carrie. Okay. And Carrie, now here's the thing, right? So our show focuses on the 330, but I'm really glad that you decided to be a part of this because you bring a different and unique perspective because you're not from around these parts. So go ahead and tell us your background in regards to where you teach.
Okay, I will correct you. I was at 330 in Cuyahoga Falls for a number of years, and then moved up to Cleveland. Okay. And so I've worked at public, charter, and Catholic schools.
Perfect. Okay.
So I have plenty of opinion on each and everyone.
Okay.
So
what is your and right now? Am I right in saying your specialty is art?
My specialty is art.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I've taught from K through high school.
Okay.
So I have a wide range.
You've got a wide range and a wide perspective. And breaking news. Hit a breaking news button for me. What'd you do this morning?
Oh, I was interviewed at the WKYC news crew for the triathlon U.S. Nationals that is going to be hosted on Sunday, and they interviewed me because they knew that I had brain surgery a couple years ago, and then they found out that I was hit by a car. So I've had to, overcome a lot of obstacles in order to get to where I am today. In addition to teaching, so I've had a little bit of a history of trying to get to, the better life of where I am at right now.
That's called life experience. Big round of applause for her right now. So yay.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on. That's fantastic. All right, so you're an overcomer, right? So that's fantastic. So we'll we'll get that perspective as well. And then, folks, let's introduce Mike. Let's hear from Mike right now.
How's it going? Thank you. Appreciate it.
He's got a handlebar. He's got.
Well,
all I can think of is in the old days, right? I'm thinking Raleigh Fingers, right? Raleigh.
See, you're going Raleigh Fingers.
Right.
I'm going even older.
Okay.
I'm thinking John L. Sullivan.
Okay. All right.
Bare knuckle boxer.
But do you ever get the wax stuff and twist it up?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
What do you got back in the bathroom? You got something I can
No, we're not doing it now. That was a different show. That was 2 weeks ago. All right, so tell us your background.
We do a part 2. You're on.
Oh, okay. I'm all for that. So,
right.
my background's definitely in exercise phys. I've taught at the collegiate level before. I've been a guest lecturer at different classes and universities for friends that teach. So I'm going to kind of have more of the perspective on the sports aspects in school and definitely a little bit more of the college feel, like how to get in, some of the testing they use, some of the standardization that they come across. And I've taught at local universities around, including the University of Akron, Mount Union.
What's nice is we got a diverse, and we all have experiences with all of this, both from a teaching and educational standpoint. Say it again?
I'm an expert.
All right, so
I feel like I am.
so from a teaching and educational standpoint.
And can I interject?
Please do.
All right. This is the reason why. All right. I had to take out loans because my parents spent money on my education for high school, and the only reason why I could go to college was because I took out loans, and then the only reason why I could pay for them is because I was hit by a car when I was 19 years old, and when I sued the guy that hit me, that was the only reason why I could pay. And that was a catch-22. People don't understand, like, going into education, and this is why I wanted to go into education, not only like when I was hit by a car, but because I understand people that are that don't have anything going into it, and there's so much going against these kids that are graduating from a public education school system and don't have the means to go on.
Yeah.
And they have to take out loans, right? And so they're going to start, these millennials start out in debt right when I started out in debt. And
Sure.
because
and
I
then
was
you've
hit by a
got,
car.
they're coming out. They're having a hard time finding jobs. They can't buy their house then because they're already in debt. It's just a vicious
Right,
cycle.
right, and
going.
it's ongoing, and that's why I'm just so. That's why, thankfully you found me, because I am a huge advocate of helping people to get to that point where, okay, if you don't want to go to college because you can't afford it, then either the education, the amount needs to come down, or they need to find another route.
Avenue. Yeah.
All right, so let's back up the train. So first of all, when do I tell her I went to Hoban? Should I do that now, or should I wait?
She's surrounded by 2 people.
I'm kind of thinking that should be kept out.
Well,
It's not in the script.
he went to Hoban too. So yeah, all right. Anyway,
So it's
point.
funny, 2 Hobans and 2 Copleys.
I'm getting the twits. I'm not.
All right,
understand
so
that.
here's the point, right? So I wanted to back it up, and I wanted to discuss the history of education. And back in the day, and I'm talking back, we're talking 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Okay.
Okay.
It was
It was in our parents.
it was based on the Carnegie.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So Akron is working on a new program right now, getting ready to start with Freshman Academy this year. And that's basically what's happening is the freshmen that are coming in have the opportunity to basically decide, okay, college is for me, college isn't for me. If it's not for me, where do I want to hone my skill? Do you want to go do masonry work? Do you want to go be an auto mechanic? Goodyear, I believe it's Goodyear, just joined up with East High School to do work hands-on with their automotive the automotive program at East.
Yeah.
So they're really trying to focus in on what is your desire in your life.
Yeah.
If college isn't going to be your plan, that's totally okay. Let's get you ready for the future. And so that's a really big thing Akron's pushing for right now, which I think is an awesome plan. I'm intrigued to see where it goes, because they're just venturing out with it. But I'm hopeful that it'll give a lot of the kids who maybe wouldn't have the opportunity to have a specific skill to really work on it earlier.
Quick question: is that going to be so? When we went to school, we had vocational.
Right. It is like,
that going to be kind of like
so Akron already has vocational. This is kind of where I feel like you need to come in and sit with me, Tom.
Okay.
Tom, you want to come in?
Tom, I feel like
All
you
right.
need to come in and sit with me, Tom.
When
I'm giving you the opportunity. I'm
So,
paving
folks,
the golden road.
We're bringing Tom in right now, and we were going to hold on to him for later. But basically, right now, so Tom, why don't we go ahead and let Tom introduce himself? So just
This is how school is, because it's interrupted all the time.
yeah.
Cool.
So I'm Tom. I'm working in a program here in Akron for educational achievement and opportunity for the students of Akron called Akron Promise. Not affiliated with I Promise School or LeBron James or anything like that.
Right, 'cause
But I also know quite a bit about the College and Career Academy, so I want to add a
Yes.
little bit to what Rita was saying.
Please do.
And that is that these teams of students, 75 students, all work together on a possible career like in auto mechanics.
Yes.
Some of them will become engineers.
Yes.
Some of them will be designers. Some of them will be mechanics. Some of them will be the business owner.
Yeah.
Just like on a football team, you got all different roles, or on a choir, or on a theater department.
Because they're making it so broad spectrum.
Yeah.
To really allow the student to find their niche, you know, and a lot of times, like when we look at our vocational that
So
we
how
had,
does it differ from our vocational?
okay, so
then?
we've always, Akron has always had the vocational programs. This is now making it very honed in from freshman to senior year, and
Okay.
really making it an opportunity for them to grow, you know,
and
not
learn
in
several different
types.
techniques.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not going to be a one specific thing.
The vocational kids aren't separated out into the vocational training.
Yeah, because that was something huge. And
Yes.
I graduated in 04, but I just remember they were like, they would get there, they'd be there home first period, and then they were gone.
Yep.
Like, and then you
Yep.
might see them getting on the bus. They didn't socialize with the rest of, you know, their class that they had been up. They were in that program.
Whatever building,
And then
the
they're taking
district.
summer school classes and stuff as well, because they still had to follow
Maintain.
curriculum
Yep.
and maintain.
Yeah, so that those students who are traditionally in the vocational education will still learn those same things, but it's going
Okay.
to be more integrated with the people that they would work
That
with in
75
their
Okay.
career. So there's
That sounds
each
like
of the
they're
schools
awesome
has a
programs.
variety
That's
of
awesome.
pathways and multiple academies, so
Okay.
that they again work together.
And we're seeing that at the upper level in regards to right now, that's the push in terms of tech jobs moving forward in engineering. They're encouraging folks to not necessarily go for a 4-year degree. Are you experiencing that? And was that a Mount Union issue, or?
I mean, the bigger issue I've noticed with a lot of the collegiate programs in general is advisors.
Okay.
They're not as upfront as they need to be. Rarely do you catch an advisor who will go, thank you.
He's loud enough.
who will tell you what's going to happen kind of past that. And even if they do, they're not always the best at predicting the market,
Okay.
which is okay if they didn't at the time, they had the best information. But I've come across more and more students that go to a university, get a 4-year degree, get 80, 90, 100K in debt for a job that's going to pay them $30,000,
Yeah,
maybe.
right.
Sure.
Instead of being, kind of more upfront, like, hey, you're passionate about this, that's great, but that might be more of a hobby
Yeah.
than a full out kind of degree you want to go towards. Because if you can't get hired after, what do you do?
You're sitting on all that debt, and then it rolls into everything else.
Well, we both went to Ashland, in full disclosure.
So did I.
And if I remember,
Many years apart.
where'd you go? Where'd you go?
She said, sorry about that.
I'm trying to
You
remember.
graduated Ashland when I was in high school.
Then don't stop it.
I was
Stop it.
starting high school.
Stop it.
Starting high
The
school.
point is though. I'm pretty sure that our tuition, I think, was in the 20s even back then, but it was parent. Yeah, that's my
can
point.
tell
It
you,
was parent.
so-
So now it's like 45, 50, 60.
So when
right?
I went, I was at Ashland in 2005 to 2007. I finished my freshman, sophomore, and junior year at Ashland. I got $8,000 on a scholarship I was a business student, educate, whatever it was. I paid $29,000 a year. That's what I paid. That was after my amount was taken off.
Okay.
A year. My senior year, I came to Akron,
Okay.
and I graduated a University of Akron student, and I think I paid $8,000 for the year. So very different. And I won't right now, but give my opinions. I loved Ashland, but I'm kind of steering my child in a different direction because of the financial. I don't know if I.
Cost more than what it was worth.
Yes. Yeah, I was a first-time college goer in my family. No one else. So when I saw Ashland, I fell in love with it. That's where I wanted to go, and so my mom said that's where you're going. But I don't feel like I got a better education paying that much.
Can I interject here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because coming from St. V, where my parents bend over backwards to give me the education that they wanted me to, and then when I started teaching public schools, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got a better education teaching public schools than I did when I was, when I went to St. V. So not to put St. V down, which was a great school, but however, the public schools offered more. So to your point, one of the girls that was in my religion class, so to speak, said that she was going to Miami, and she argued to the fact that she was going to get a better education, and she was paying $40,000 more than I would be at Akron U.
Yeah.
And she made it sound like we didn't have the best education, and I'm like, I got a great education where I went, and yet it's society that puts you in this little
It's that mindset.
yeah,
And
that,
so
that you are not going to make a lot of money or be better off if you don't pay the amount of money that you need for education.
I by trait. Go ahead, what do you think?
Well, I was going to say, I think that plays into the narrative of bottom moving up, and it's different in college. In other words,
And,
I could
well,
see
high
a
school,
difference.
too.
Well,
I mean, if you go to Catholic school,
it depends on the district.
because those people
Right?
that were
So, for example,
butting up against me, I was coming from a poor district. They were coming from a rich district, and I felt like I was
And
Looking
let's
at a
let's
job aspect though. So by degree, I graduated University of Akron with a bachelor's in business management. I then got my master's in HR, human resources. I was the HR director of a hospital.
Okay.
I was in charge of hiring and firing. When I was trained, basically, they didn't care what school you went to. If you had a degree, you had a
Right.
degree. So my Ashland degree weighed the same as an Akron degree. All they cared about is that you started and you finished, and some of your class weight. I can tell you though, I don't regret going to Ashland as an
Right.
individual.
Yeah, right.
I grew up in a bubble. And Ashland gave me a little bit step out of that bubble. I wouldn't have made it if they threw me into University of Akron from the start. But education-wise, I don't feel. I feel
Right.
like
Same here.
personally, I benefited from it that
Right.
way.
can you bring here? He's
Bring
got
it down.
All right, so. But
Is
my
this
point
thing on?
was a lot of it has to do with
Is this thing on?
There's a difference in the. I mean, let's try and be transparent tonight, right?
Try to be.
We know that there's
You should be.
yeah. But my point is, we know there's a difference in districts
Absolutely.
when it
Right.
comes to funding. Okay, when we compare,
So why are the grades the same? So why do they measure us all the same?
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But the point is, we know there's a difference between Cleveland, Akron, Hudson, Cuyahoga Falls, Wadsworth. We know there's difference in the districts,
Right.
and a lot of it comes down to funding, right? And to be transparent, so the point is,
And family.
why do we look at that at the college level and make that transition mentally? We think, okay, well, this school costs more, so it must be a better school. I mean,
That's exactly what it is.
Right.
I think you're also looking at public versus private, and that huge push, especially in society, is private. Get it?
Well,
Well, look at
and
my
that's what it
private
was.
schools are in Fairlawn. You have St. Sebastian, St. Hilary, Elms, Walsh. I mean, like not Elms, but I mean like Walsh. But I mean, just like that whole district. They all like what I grew up. They all went to Miami. They went to Miami. They went to OU. They went to the higher educational schools.
Okay.
I went to Akron. 'cause
But
that's
you're
all I could afford.
told at that level, because I walked in not having, no one in my family had gone. I thought, I go to Ashland, it's a private school, smaller classrooms, I'm going to get a better job.
Yeah.
They're going to guide me the same way, like a better way.
Well,
Correct.
and that's it. He grew up going to private schools. I grew up in public school. So when we had kids, I'm like, I don't see a need to put our kids in private school. One, we don't have the money for it, and two, I'm mentally okay. I
Right.
think my kids will do
Well,
well.
that was the thing. That's where I think that I come into play, because I grew up K through 12, Catholic school, and then got my first job, Cuyahoga Falls. I was like, you guys have way more than I did when I was at St. V. Like, St. V provided me religion, which I have nothing to do with. But, I mean, I didn't have the great art class. I didn't have the great math class. They received the best or better education than I ever did. And I
would've
realized
never
that
thought
the
that.
first year,
There's more liberal
the
stuff.
first year they went, yeah, they accept the LBG, whatever, TV, whatever. Which is awesome, because I mean they're more accepting of the people.
That's what it is, man.
just hit a button.
And
Edit that out.
the queers. No, and I didn't grow up like they're very accepting, and it helps with the community. Like it really did. Like they got along with everybody.
Community focused than private
All right,
Great.
real quick, I got a comment from the audience. It's Crystal Stover chiming in. Thank you, Crystal, for tuning in. What programs do we have available in the 330 for IT interested kids? Program writing and this day and age technology stuff. Okay, well, it's interesting you ask that, Crystal, because I work at an engineering services company, and we just did so the Bounce Innovation Hub is located in downtown Akron, and Bounce is designed to be an incubator of startups and technology companies, and so they're, shout out to Comey, to Audrey and Amy, the friends of show, right? Point being, there is an initiative right now, and that's why I brought it up earlier in regards to 2-year programs. So you can get 2-year associate's degrees that will take you on to IT courses and IT paths per se toward engineering, toward data management systems, towards infrastructure that deals with computing and computed technology. And then at that point, you get an internship, and then you're working as you're also continuing your schooling. So these programs all now exist. They're starting to offer them at the lower levels as well. So go ahead with that.
So Akron has some great programs to help start working on that. A lot of buildings actually have them. And I have just the personal experience with East. I almost want to shout out the teacher's name because he's amazing. Actually, there's 2 of them. And they do such a great job at getting students the IT experience they need and getting them out into like competitions and the field and seeing, is this a skill that they want to use, or is this, how are they going to use their skills in the future? And sometimes it works out great, but I think it's given kids a lot of opportunity to say, IT is awesome. That's really where I want to go. I want to do programming. I want to use it for computer skills or, helping other companies. And other ones are saying, this is more intense, more in depth than they thought, and so maybe I need to go do something else.
Well, there's a huge ratio of kids going into college and completely changing their.
Yeah, absolutely.
I started as a business major.
Right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
I then went and was going to be a law major, and then my advisor, I had an amazing advisor, looked right at me.
I didn't.
You're too emotional to be an attorney. Jump
That
out
was
now.
Had a horrible
Like-
advisor.
Oh, Yoshi, okay. I thought it was
Yeah,
fine.
so I had a great advisor. So I went business, law, criminal justice, and then went right back to business, but in a different
Avenue.
a different avenue of business.
But were you told that was okay
I-
growing up?
Right.
No.
We tell our kids so much growing up.
You finish
Figure
it.
out what you want.
Why?
Do it.
Right. And we don't know either.
Not try this, try that. If you don't like this, try this. If you don't like this, they need to try stuff.
I was raised
They
my
can't
mom
be
was
stuck
all
in one
about
thing.
just try. My mom was really good about, are you switching your major? Go ahead. Like,
Yep.
I don't
But-
care how long.
But that's an individual, like it's your parent. Like
is a parent's
one of my
thing.
individual, like one of the issues that I have with education is that they don't encourage the community or the establishment, whatever you live, to say, hey, look, you know what? It's not going to be through your high school career that you're going to decide what you want to do, or your college career.
Or those
decide
tests.
But we're going to help you. We're going to help you go through these, whatever to get there. We're not going to, and then that's what I am so irritated with, because even with Cauga Falls, when I was there, they're like, all right, well, we're going to have the kids decide what they want to do when they are 8th grade. I'm like, 8th grade? Like, how are they ever going to decide what they want to do at 8th grade?
Right.
Who knows? Do you remember what was interesting to you in 8th grade? Okay, so that's a little different.
The problem, though, is when you do get to college, the problem is experimenting and changing costs money. Okay, I started out in computer science. I'm like, well, I'm gonna program the world.
Right.
And I get all of a sudden I run into calculus and discrete math, and I'm like, and then I realized, hold on. I said, I'm like, time out. I'm gonna spend the rest of my life in a cubicle doing
But I mean,
code.
could you imagine being
And
like
codes
living
for
in
it.
an environment where everybody supports education or supports?
But that's my whole point. So then at that
don't.
point, I switched to
We
the
don't.
education. And
We don't support it,
I
though.
double majored in life science, biology, and language arts. And the issue there, though, was
And you're wasting your money.
I took 4 years and now made it 5.5.
Right.
Because now, not only do I have to go that extra year because I switched majors, and now I got a student teach for half a year. Okay.
Right.
So the point
and not
is,
get paid for it either.
right.
Let's talk about that as well.
right, and not get paid for it.
So you're spending money that you're never going to make money, and these.
But that's my point, though. When you get to, by the time you get to college, Then if you make those changes, it costs money. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear from Tom and Mike real quick. All right.
All
So I'm switching the topic a little bit. Go ahead.
let's do one more thing on
Go
Girls
ahead.
Night.
Take it over.
Let's
Take it
do
over.
One more thing on college and career academies.
Okay.
Please do.
First of all, the students that are getting those experiences actually will have a skill that they can use for a part-time job or use for
Yeah.
a job while they pay for college. That's number one.
But they wasted all that money. But go on.
No, this is
This is
coming
in
out
high
of
school.
high
Coming
school.
out of high school, they're
Okay.
gonna have skills now.
with college and career academies. The second thing is they aren't choosing their career. You guys were talking about you can't choose in 8th grade. Well, you're absolutely right. They're just learning
Skills.
an experience of how they're going to experience high school. Similar to a kid that's joining the drama club or the football team or the choir, they're going to choose an academic experience centered on healthcare services or IT. I posted a link that has the
I got it.
pathways on
Yep.
the college and career academies
Okay.
on the
Thank you.
thread. So anyway, those are two things that students
Yep.
aren't choosing a career at 8th grade, and that they have opportunities to learn skills to have the low-level jobs while they pursue higher education, if
Yeah.
that's what they want.
Yep, it's awesome.
Okay.
Because
That's
you've
cool.
even seen, I have a couple friends that had skills, went through the vocational, learned that skill, then went to college, but was working all through college, and then realized I have she has a psychology degree, but she's now been at this job for 5 years. She's going to make more at this job than the one she uses her degree. And she's never, like it's been years, never gone back because she's like, I had to pay my student loans and I had to do this. I couldn't take that risk to walk in.
I see Lori's out there watching right now. Lori, feel free as a teacher to comment on anything we're talking about, okay? Well, I'll share your comments live on the air. All right, so I want to switch the focus. Again, I'm trying to stay on point. We want to keep the show to roughly an hour. So, yeah, roughly.
Right. We're almost.
So
We're not far.
the question is, where are we right now? Because of the, I don't want to go there. I'm going to go there. Because just rip. No.
Take the Band-Aid off.
Because of
Politically.
no.
It has to be.
You don't even know where I'm going.
Political, but it has to be political. You
Because
cannot
of the
avoid it.
because of the school influx in potential violence and other issues in regards to safety, there's been a big push in the last year and a half to start doing a lot more homeschooling. Okay.
Well, now K through 12 is free.
Now
to
K
do.
through 12, so they now have curriculums available. So I'm going to start with you two guys at the end, and we'll work our way around the horn. What's your take right now in the 330 on the process and the thought process of homeschooling children? Okay.
Well, my thought is that parents should send their kids where they think they're going to have the best experience, the best education that they need. And so if a parent wants to homeschool their families, I'll support it. I'm all for it. We considered that for our family. But I do think that it's very important to have a community public school available and that serves everyone.
Okay, Mike.
So kind of what we were talking about earlier, like building kind of the community and having to work in like open offices and teams and stuff. From my experience with some people I've known over the years with homeschooling, sometimes they can lack a little bit in social skills and they don't know how to be quite as cohesive on a team is one of the potential drawbacks. The other thing too is, you're homeschooling your own child, which is fine, but at the same time, how are you necessarily qualified for that? Obviously we have qualified teachers. There's a reason you're qualified. So it's just like anything else. Are you a certified mechanic or are you just looking up something on YouTube and then your car's broke? So, there's kind of that give and take where, it could be potentially good or it could be potentially detrimental depending, I think, on the situation more than anything. So you're going to take that risk. Like, is the kid going to be, socially awkward or inept and not know how to respond to other children because they're not around them very much? And that could translate into, if they go into a field where they need to talk and socialize with people, they'd be screwed. They couldn't go into sales if they don't know how to interact with people and read people in situations. So I think it really, really depends, and it's something that, like I said, it's got an up and a down. It could potentially be very good, but it also could be potentially very bad.
Okay. All right, Carrie.
You know what? I don't know. It's a difficult topic because I've seen both ends, and I've seen kids that come out of homeschool awesome, and I've seen kids that haven't done so well, and then vice versa. So I think it's more of an individual and how the parent takes it to the level of where they can actually educate their child. I don't really care two ways about it, only because if they're going to send their kid to a public school, then that's great. we get them, but if not, that's fine too. So to each his own.
Okay.
I take a couple of different steps with that, just because I have family who homeschool, and one of the really cool things they do that I like, you're talking about the perspective of social interaction. They have co-ops, and 2 to 3 times a week they're in huge groups of kids with families, and each family has kind of like a specialty, so they're out doing that skill and learning to interact with other people. So I see some really great things coming out of homeschooling, but I also can see where the qualification factor, I think, is something for me that, you know, I'm qualified 4 through 9 math, science, language, arts. I could teach those things to my children, sure, but they're my kids.
Right.
You get that comfort zone level that just starts to, it's a gray area, man. I don't know that I would want to teach my kids. And I'm not, like, I wouldn't want to do elementary. Elementary blows my mind. I can't do it. I mean, this is why I have a 4.9 degree. I just can't.
Right.
I'm like, it's not for me. So it's, homeschooling is a double-edged sword,
Okay.
you know?
Well, and that's why I brought it up, because it's a hot topic.
It is.
But
I
do you
mean-
have money to like support it too? Like, do you have the income where your husband supports because
or even your wife, for that matter.
Wouldn't be
It could
able
be either way.
If I had kids, I wouldn't be able to support homeschooling and kids. There's
Sure.
no way.
Sure. Okay. Well, right, because you, in addition to what they are doing, you also have to have the resources in order to provide what is needed material-wise
And
for that
provide it to
curriculum.
the state.
Like,
It
hey,
is.
today we're going
It
to
is.
XYZ.
Hampton, was that the Hamptons? She has stacks and stacks of pictures of curriculum.
Right.
Who?
Yeah.
Someone that we know.
Okay. Okay.
She lives in the Hamptons?
No,
No,
that's
no.
her last name.
Oh. I was like,
All right.
all right.
No.
Can't
So
deal
then the
with that.
next question, like I said, I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. All right.
Okay,
so,
rip it off.
I don't even know how to ask this.
Yeah, do it.
Should I ask
Man,
this?
I'm
Moon Man?
ready.
Crickets.
If it's about DeVos, black people, or whatever, I got it.
Should I- All right. So.
I'm ready.
Horrible
Which,
turn of events.
which our panel is
Horrible.
completely
I got
devoid of. All right. So let's go with. How do you say it? Is it DeVos?
Yeah, it's DeVos.
All right. So
Oh.
it's Betsy, right?
Betsy DeVos,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Okay.
hold on. I know where you stand. We're
I know.
Facebook friends, okay?
I know.
So
I'll
I
let you
guess
guys go first.
the question is, I've always been of the opinion that if you're an army is only as good as its general. That's the way I look at everything, right? So the point is that if you're going to put somebody in charge of something, I would assume that they would have the experience, the tool set, and the skill set in order to run whatever it is
Okay,
they're in
but
charge
Trump's
of.
putting
Hold on. So here we are, right? We're underneath, and we're in this educational system.
Okay.
And I look at the way that it stacks up to the pyramid, and at the top of the pyramid, we have someone that's in charge of education for the United States. Okay. Now,
And how much does she
the majority of what I've experienced is a negative attitude toward that appointment from most teachers.
Okay.
So let's start with Rita. Okay, Wusa.
Like, let's go ahead and give a little prayer to everybody up here.
We're gonna start with
I
Rita.
understand this because I have no idea. So there's one person that's in. I don't know how I missed.
So-
oh,
so-
I don't know her.
So no, it's not actually that way.
Go ahead and explain.
Yeah,
The point
so
is,
here's-
she's in charge of the educational structural system in regards to how the government works with it.
So,
Okay.
yeah, kind of, sort of. So,
Go ahead.
Here's my take on it. Doing some research, as being asked to do this, less than 24 hours ago.
Thank you.
Right? So she throws that name at me, and I'm going, I know, but I need to refresh myself. So I went and did some research. And
Of course you did.
I told you I was going to. That's my nature. I have to research, and I have to have knowledge.
Because I have to go home and do homework. I was
Okay.
like, no, just show up.
Okay.
I didn't do that. So the way the system has worked in the past is that the president has, where you have No Child Left Behind, the new Every Child Succeeds Act, all these new things. She has influence on what plan is taken and what is recommended. Is what I read.
Influence. Right. Okay. So she's not. So for me to say she's in charge, that's too heavy.
It's too heavy. Yes,
Right.
exactly.
But that's a perception that us common folk have.
That's
that's
Okay.
how I take it. I mean, I don't know what's your opinion on that, but
In Ohio,
Go
the
ahead, flip it.
local public
Local
school
school-
boards control
Yes.
most of what happens in the school.
Okay.
The
Right.
Ohio State Board of Education controls curriculum and testing schedules for the most part.
and that's based on the old rule, right?
Right, and,
Because
and
it
so
hasn't
the
changed to her way yet.
Department of Education does some things about funding. They have a
Work
relatively
with you on
minor
this one.
amount of funding for overall education, and they recommend pathways like
Right. The careers,
ESSA.
yes, and
Okay.
No Child Left Behind,
and how
the
testing
the
goes, so.
testing, state testing,
So anyway,
all that stuff. Yeah.
So I'll chime in with my opinion here. Is
Okay.
She has an influence, and things are going to go in a particular direction. She will support the expansion or the continuation of charter schools because
Okay. That's her thing.
That's where she has made her name in the past. In Michigan, she's had big influence in Michigan over their
Right.
education policies in their state as
But
well as in
negative
Ohio.
influences.
On our state, for instance, we have
What's your negative influence?
Hold on, Carrie. You get a turn.
we have a lot
Hold
of
on,
charter
Carrie.
schools here in Akron, Ohio.
Yeah,
and
we do.
a significant percentage of the students that live here in Akron go to charter schools.
Okay.
true.
Mike, you got something?
I mean, the biggest thing from what I've seen is just the qualification. Or how
Okay.
qualified are you for your job? And I think she was just heavily underqualified.
Okay.
You know,
Agreed.
that's honestly the biggest thing from everything I've read and looked into the family and everything they've done. They're not, somebody who's super qualified for their job is the best way I can just describe it. I mean, so potentially, it could be great where she's inept and doesn't get anything across. I mean, that's possible. So that has happened before. But it's just, it's like anything else. We all have different qualifications for a reason. We all have different backgrounds, different internships, different
Absolutely.
co-ops
Okay.
for a reason. And she really doesn't have a very strong foundation. It's not like she was, multi-district superintendent,
Right.
for 40 years, and then they brought her in. That would be
Or
some
even a
pretty-
teacher.
yeah,
Okay.
a teacher.
Yeah, she doesn't
I mean,
even have an
that was my-
education
I-
background.
I would say prerequisite number one.
yeah. So and
Lowest level.
that's why I took it up to like
wasn't even
somebody
there.
even
We'll go
higher
teacher's
up
aide.
How
going
did
through.
she get this position?
Well,
They're appointed.
she has been involved in policy for education.
And explain
Okay.
why.
Okay.
Explain why, please.
Well, whether or not it's good policy or not, or whether or not they support the policy or not, that's not the issue. The issue right
Okay.
now is how did she get her job? She got her job because she
She's
is
a
involved
multi-millionaire.
in education.
Okay.
There
Okay.
are other reasons why she was selected for the
Okay.
job.
Okay. Got
But
it.
she's been involved in policy for education, helping to create
Is this like a
Michigan
term
laws.
or-
So,
Uh,
The
Okay,
presidential.
Did you guys not watch the
Presidential.
60-minute segment where she?
well, hold on. It's your turn now. Go ahead
Oh,
and
it's
pull
my
the
turn?
mic over. Okay.
Okay. Here
you go.
Now hold on. Get ready with the air horn.
Oh, is she gonna
You
make me-
over there. Get ready. All right.
Okay.
So
Where do you
now,
want me to
hold on,
start? Where do you want me to start?
Well.
We are a PG show.
No.
No, I got it. I got it. I've been
No, the
following
point
Betsy
is,
DeVos for 2 years.
I know where you stand. I do.
Right,
because
right.
we
That's
are
fine.
very Facebook friendly.
No,
Okay.
that's fine. I'm not.
So yeah,
I
I watch her. Her stuff
like
is
that word.
hysterically awesome.
I'm not on the attacked. I'm just. I just want to just list what I know about Betsy DeVos and how I followed her and how I've become. I've never been political. I've never become political until she took office and then took away. We as teachers, our union, base, which it's
Explain
shocking.
that. No. Tell us what that means. Explain that.
Okay, what
Because there's other teachers listening and watching right now, folks. If you're a teacher right now, I see a bunch of you are watching. Please make sure that you comment, and we'll include your comments into the show, and that way we could talk about them and address them. So make sure you type them out.
What's shocking to me is that she is in charge of the teacher base, so she's in charge of education, and we have fought for so long. Even before I was born, in the 1900s, unions, and even when I joined the union, I was a little skeptical. I'm like, why am I paying this amount of money into the union? But I realized we have to fight for each other because there are people that are on the top that will try to screw us over. And so there's no other better term I can think for that. So when Betsy DeVos came in, she is a billionaire that has a $40 million yacht. It has a $400 million house in Holland or whatever it is. And she is dictating that we as teachers not only like reduce the union in our district. Like we have nothing. We make a quarter, an eighth of what she makes, but she is telling our educational system of how she wants to handle us, and which it's so irritating that I'm like, we paid $20,000 a year for education, and we don't even have that much money. She was born into money. She has money. She married into money. She's dictating what we have to do with our lives. I'm like, why is that possible? Why? We're not harming her. We're helping the kids that.
Well, no. Give me an example. Okay, listen. So, first of all, I'm not going to fault her for that. It's so. That's
right.
That's the
I'm not
American
faulting
dream,
her
right,
for
baby?
it, but why is she like faulting us?
But my question to you is, give me a specific example, because I don't know. I really don't.
Okay.
What has she done to the union to cause change that is effective in affecting you immediately in your daily life?
Okay, a couple
give me
things.
an example.
Yeah, number one, she wants to decrease the Pell Grants that us teachers like try to get to go into college to get our education.
Okay, so continuing education
yeah,
credits.
she wants to deunionize education. Educators, like
She wants to get rid of the teacher union.
Yeah, she
Totally.
wants unions to be completely gone.
Okay.
completely odd. Which I don't understand why. Like you should see what she has. Like she has all.
But
this
no. I'm not worried about her and what she has. I want to know how she's affecting.
Okay, so then
you
there
guys.
was that, and then let's see, what was the last thing that she did? The Pell Grant. Did I say the Pell Grant?
Yeah.
Okay, so I said the Pell Grant, and then in college, they have these universities that the private company have, like DeVos, and there was another private company in the university where they're going to not pay back the loans that the kids have already bought to go into their university. So she says that because they bought it, it was their responsibility to research it, but yet their university is going under, so they're not going to pay back any of the loans that these kids have already paid for.
Okay. All right. So point being, at the end of the day.
Point being, she doesn't care about.
Well, at the end of the day, though, we being the general public are mostly confused on this whole topic when it comes to her specifically, because
you're not following her because you don't care.
It's not that we don't care.
It doesn't apply to you.
But it does, because I
Right.
got 4 kids in this district.
Right.
Okay, so I want to know, how does that affect
You're not a teacher.
Well, how does it affect education? Number one, how does it affect the teachers? Number two,
teacher
because
quality.
mostly why is because if the teachers aren't happy and the teachers aren't given what I consider a fair wage and a good living and working condition,
Right.
that's going to affect my child's education, right?
Right.
So
And-
that's what I'm concerned about.
And
okay?
see what
And
we
it will
see when the issues that
trickle
we
down will
see,
happen.
right?
Yeah.
Like we paid for education and we continue to pay for education. She does not have to, and we are paying into education that our salary is not going up. Our salary is stagnant.
Quick question. I was always under the impression that a teacher's salary actually has to do with the city, like those levies and all of that. Is it not gauged on that at all? It's more of a state thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
like
it's not
And that's what
that.
she wants.
You guys don't still step?
for
We do,
instance,
but
thought-
No, it's stagnant.
well, it depends on your district. It depends on your contracts.
Okay.
Some districts do contracts. Sorry.
And your levies.
Some do.
Because that's what I thought it was all in levy.
No,
So I
levy.
thought like bigger
Well, it's
bigger
both.
cities like
So-
Fairlawn
Not
so-
all
would
do.
make more than.
So when I taught, we were handed our
Fairlawn makes
contract.
makes less than Akron.
When I taught, we were handed our contract. Okay, we were handed our contract, and it was year 1, year 2,
Yep.
year 3,
Forget it.
year
Nope.
4, year 5, and then on top of that, there was plus 10, plus 20, and
Right,
you know,
yeah.
master.
Credit hours.
They stop that.
Yeah.
And then on
Long
top of
time
that,
ago.
there was stipends,
not
and on
all
top of
districts
that,
have.
on top of
Right.
that, there was coaching.
Cogga Falls did.
Akron
And
did
then
less.
by education, that's your,
because of our
Yeah,
contract.
as you increase
get more
your
hours
education.
and more degrees.
That's my point. Plus 10, plus 20, and then
You
30
go-
with the
And
master.
that's
go
the
up as
thing. It
well.
depends
Which
on
that's
where
how
you
it was
work.
where I was.
But
when I
that
was a
all
teacher.
depends on what district you're
That's
in,
what I thought.
Ding,
what
ding, ding.
schools you go to.
Right.
So if you're in a unionized district, then your teachers can negotiate those contracts.
Correct.
That's why
If
unions
you're
are
working
important.
for a non-union organization like a private school or a charter school, for instance, then you get paid what the owner of the business wants you to pay.
And
Or
Correct.
That's
the-
why
or
Betsy
the
DeVos
sponsor of
wants
the.
us to have the charter schools, and that's what I worked for.
Okay.
Charter schools.
Okay. All right, so there's that. So let's put that one to bed for now and put it on the shelf. But that gives me a better idea. Okay.
I feel like then we
so,
need to go to state testing.
well, I'm getting there. Oh, that's down here.
I know.
All right. So the next question I had was,
Yep.
where are we in? Eric, Sarah, you guys just joined. Feel free to chime in. And again, we're discussing all different topics right now with their education. Where are we with busing in terms of transport? I know that there's been issues in regards to with some districts. It's like there's a limit in terms of how far you got to live apart from the school. It's a distance, and then on top of that, sometimes it's like for example, this is what hacks me off. Okay, Akron, like Jillian goes to Firestone, and she'll be required to go to certain events at night, and it's like part of the choir, part of the theater, whatever it's part of. And we got to figure out how to get her there. There's no bus to take her there. So,
required?
What's up?
It's part of the class.
Oh, it's part of the.
You can't put this in the mix. That falls on the person in charge of that department.
It's a graded event, so you got to go to the concert.
Oh, okay. It's
So you got to go to the concert, and it's graded. It's part. But my point is,
They don't want to put the money from their department into busing for the kids.
Right.
And then they push it off to the parents, so you can't count that.
But what I'm saying is, if we and you'll relate, I hope you'll relate to me from the arts standpoint here. Okay, when we have a football team or a soccer team or a basketball team, boys or girls, and they have a game, they're provided a bus. They get on the bus, they go together, they get back on the bus, they come home. Okay, now you've got a choir or a band, and they're required to have their parents transport them.
Really?
It also depends on districts because it also depends on district.
I sit here before you. Preach. Yes.
You're talking about her choir competitions.
Choir. If it's a listen, I'm gonna woosah right now. What I'm saying is, hold on.
Give her a mic.
Let me finish my thought. If it is a required by the school.
But it's different to be required by the school or being part of an organization. So like
No. This is the choir. This is the Firestone Choir. Going to a Firestone choir competition. What?
They have to have buses.
It's required by the teacher.
That's what I'm saying.
Can you explain to me the difference?
Yes. So when I was in band,
yes,
the band bus picked me up, took me to a band competition, and brought me home. That was because I was part of an organization in the school. But there were things that I had to attend that were, like my English teacher wanted me to go to this thing. My mom would have to take me there. Like, that was a class organization. The school could care less about transporting me.
So,
is that kind of
so
where
I think the overall issue is that you need to consider how students are going to get to the events that you want as part of their education.
Yeah.
If you want them to participate in choir competitions, you got to find a way to allow students to get there. If you want students to participate and go to the theater event, you need to figure out, well, how do we make that available to all the students and in the appropriate way in the school? And there's just different ways of funding it. Yes. For instance, the band and the football teams, they always get buses from their school.
Right. Yes. Correct.
But they might live very far away. They still need to get to the school.
Oh, sure, of course.
So
of course.
So there's all those issues, and it's a question of, well, how do you allocate the funds, and do you have enough funding, and how do you do it? And are parents available? So.
I'm mugging you right now. Why are you going against me on this? We're on the same page.
You have to speak
You're in a different
directly
book.
to the principal of the school and the director of the choir if you have an issue with that. Because
Especially
that is
because
not a school function.
How is that not a school function?
If it is,
It's a graded choir concert.
required by the school. It's
Stop.
required by the teacher.
But
How is that?
part of an organization.
How do you? Where are you coming at me with that?
You're on my
Think about what you just said.
Guys,
It's not required by the school. It's required by the teacher. It's a choir concert.
Hello.
we need cowbell.
Reel in.
cowbell.
Reel in.
Go.
Reel in.
You're up.
Cowbell.
Go.
Cowbell.
I'm getting hot.
I know you are. You're getting hot in the collar.
All right.
What's next? What's next? Come on.
Here's my only thing with that for you. If that is what's happening, there's something wrong with the way that it's being funded. Because within East, and this is only the experience because that's where I've been, and I was actually an assistant coach for Copley with field commanders and band, drum majors, whatever you want to call them, the bus has to be provided. So if it is a school-related thing that they have to go do.
As an actual organization.
And it's actually, like if this is choir and they are going as a choir to go to this event, you need to be calling the school.
Yeah,
you
that
need to
is
be
a
calling the
requirement.
school. That is something.
Stop bitching about it and go.
And
I'm
go
not,
do something.
I'm not pitching. I'm not pitching.
No,
This,
stop.
What's
you
the
need to
question
go do
again?
something.
this
Go
happened
do
to us.
something.
This has happened to
Do
us
something.
4,
Where are we?
3 years in a row, 2
Okay,
years
so,
in a row.
Wait, can I get clarification? I need clarification. So
I'm
what
ready.
is this event?
This is
It's a
a.
choir competition. We were
in-
bused.
in Macedonia.
When's
do
the
it
next
live.
Full
event?
choir required to attend?
Yeah, it should be bused.
Yes.
Then it should be bused.
Thank you.
Then you need to be calling the school and you need to be raising holy and going from there.
Make that noise.
Thank you.
Can we have a sound?
But
plug for that?
my point is why should I as a parent even have to?
It's funding priorities.
It's funding priorities.
So
Absolutely.
the choirs,
But-
and again, that's why I brought the arts up because the
But
arts
you
always
need
You
bottom.
need to be raising holy and moving
Yeah,
on.
you need
Going on.
to you need to like be against the norm.
And it may be a thing of priority because
No.
Well, we-
went to
and we know what brings
Copley,
in money.
So since we went to Copley, band and choir they were put up there, like they were.
Yet they didn't count as our.
We're
gym
always
credit
put on the
until,
back
like,
burner,
3
right?
years after we
That's
got
the
out.
problem.
The arts.
Don't get me started on that.
The
one.
arts. And we I guess I'm thinking that my household is hypersensitive to that because I've got one that's in dance and I've got one that's in theater
No, and
and
this
choir.
this is so stupid. Like, why don't we like fight for more of the arts and the like? Look at that.
Missing child.
Your wife has a like tumor on her leg that's like floating on her
Child
leg.
disappeared.
What?
I don't know what that is.
All right, we got to move on. I'm sorry, I got worked up.
All right, let's wrap this up. What do we got?
All right, okay. So next is how are we right now? Well, let's talk.
just go to
Let's talk.
sports.
We skipped. I accidentally skipped sports.
That
and I
kind of
want-
we talked kind
No,
of.
no, no. I want to talk sports because that's where Mike comes in, right?
All right,
So,
Mike, give us your thoughts.
well, no. So the question is, okay, are districts right now still requiring? Are a lot of districts still requiring kids to have to? Is it still pay to play? So
On the district
Why?
levy.
I mean, yeah, it kind of goes with everything. It depends on the levies and the districts. And I need to get it close. She feels better when I do that. So
Make her happy.
What?
I just wanted to like, I don't know. I'm an art teacher.
Go ahead.
So, I mean, it just honestly depends. Depends on like levies and booster clubs. Booster clubs are actually really big with sports.
Okay.
I'd
Yeah.
say that's more the deciding factor.
Yeah.
So it's kind of twofold with both of those things.
are a lot of schools still? Is it still pay to play in a lot of
certain
the public
schools.
schools? Or?
It just
is.
depends.
Depends if you can get the
It's
levy to
even-
pass.
It's even more than sports, though. I mean, you pay
There's
marching
choir and
marching
band.
bands. There's
Yeah.
choir fees.
Dance.
There's
Dance.
dance.
Don't
There's fees
even.
for a lot of extras that you get at school.
dumb that we have to like do all this and then but they pay all this money to the military
But
and like
it's
stuff that
funding priorities.
Yeah.
Right.
Funding priorities.
but we have to fund for the military that does nothing for us.
Well, okay, so let's segue into that in terms of funding in regards to. I want to talk on support personnel
I have 18 years.
inside the classroom and also your own materials. Okay, so when you guys were all teaching, okay, where were you in terms of? Is everything provided for you that you need?
Do you see the school
Oh
list
my
of what
God.
I,
My-
as a parent, I get?
Well, no. So let's start. Let's go.
I feel like
18
we're,
glue
funny.
sticks.
We're like
18
toppers.
glue sticks is what I was told I needed to provide for my kindergartner
Yeah,
this year.
18 glue sticks.
18 glue sticks.
What do you-
No, I don't know if this is all play, but I'm given a list. But my kid does not get
Well, hold
to
on.
use the pretty sparkly pencils that I provide.
Yeah.
They go in this big bin, and everybody uses them, which I'm completely fine with.
cheap anyway, but they're not.
Yeah,
But,
I'm
okay.
fine with. But no, the teachers.
But as far as funding goes,
There's none.
You laugh at the supply closet.
No,
After
I'm
a
not-
day, it's empty.
Zero.
all
Or
right.
like December. You
So
have nothing.
where are
I
we?
think they should
We'll
send
start with
somebody
Tom. I want to start with Tom. We'll go around the horn, and I want to hear from a volunteer's perspective first. Okay, so you go in, you're helping out. Okay, you see this stuff. What do you see that's deficient? What do you see that goes on that where they could where's the? I guess the question is where is there? Where are they? No. I'm good at facilitating. Where are we good at? Where are we good at?
You know that they need it, they don't.
Versus
have.
where can we improve?
So first of all, we didn't talk about the fact that I do volunteer in a second grade classroom.
Okay.
And that's what I've been doing that for lots of years.
Okay.
And so going in weekly, I I know that the teacher has to supply a lot of their own resources, whether it's books or posters or things. And
Really?
there's avenues to get funding for that kind of stuff sometimes, but teachers all have to pay out of pocket, I think, for certain things that they want in their school.
Okay.
I'm going to interject. Did you know that during the when Trump said that all these people are going to get their tax breaks, said that teachers cannot write off
They can't write off
their
It is
materials?
taken off the tax bill?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
they can't write off their teacher
Expenses.
Their expenses
Yeah.
when they purchase supplies. for their
So
programs.
that needs to go in your little podcast because that is.
So in other words, you're still required to potentially provide materials, but at the same time, you can't write it off anymore.
It can't be-
envelopes and
it
whatnot.
can't be
You
written
can't-
off as a business expense anymore. It
Right.
used to be
In
able
the
to
same
be-
way.
Yeah.
Right, but
Yeah,
they're
in the
giving
same
billions and billions of tax cuts and
Okay.
really nothing. Okay.
So-
Keep going.
Sorry.
Okay.
So I will tell you that the classroom that I volunteer in, I'm assigned something to do to help a student, and the teacher is very aware of what the students need. And over the years, she got to know what my wife and I, what our skills are, and she assigns us to students. And so I think that if I was to advocate for something, it would be to get more volunteers available in classrooms so that students can have more one-on-one time with a caring adult that will help them with the particular thing that the teachers identified for their help.
How do we go about doing that? If someone wanted to volunteer, what do they do?
We have to have also be a
So
background
the background check is fairly easy process through the Akron Public Schools. There's two big programs. One is to be an in-school volunteer. You fill out a form with the principal of your school, and you do a background check downtown, I think, in Akron Public Schools.
They have their
How do
own
you get
background check.
check?
They have their
It's
own
just
department.
student safety that they need in our school
Oh,
districts
you
these
do,
days.
not that.
So the
okay.
Akron Public Schools
I
need
think
to
it's
have
important.
background checks
I do too.
from all the adults that
Our
are
church has
helping
to
the
have
kids.
them for
The other thing
ESL
that I'll
our
put a little
religion
plug in
teachers have
for
to have.
in
Yeah.
Akron Public
We have to have
Schools
them.
and Barberton Schools in particular is the eye care mentoring program, which is someone that
basically.
volunteers for an hour a week with one particular student throughout the school year to help them with whatever they need help with in a mentoring, caring relationship way. So,
Okay.
So
And that's all. That's also available. Like, is there a website or somewhere where they go to do that?
iCareMentoring.org.
Okay.
So I'm also an eye care mentor, which is different than volunteering in the classroom.
Okay.
Volunteering in the classroom, I'm doing what the teacher tells me to do with the student that she wants me to work with on that day. And with eye care mentoring, I am working with a young man that goes to now he's in middle school this year. And we just meet every week and we talk about what we want to talk about and do what we want to do for an hour
Okay.
based on his interests and my interests together.
Okay, Mike, go ahead and approach this for me from a coach's standpoint.
Well, I mean, it's kind of with coaching, it just depends, like you said, on the district and the school. And even at the collegiate level, as far as like what you have to provide, it just depends on the school. It really does. I mean, the universities I've all worked with had pretty big budgets and they had tons and tons of donors and backing. So they always had, every smart board and PowerPoint thing you could think of. So past that, though, the nice advantage is they were adults at this point. They're all over 18, so if they don't bring a pencil, that's their problem. If I'm feeling nice, I might send them the notes after, kind of a thing. So, but as far as like the coaching goes, it's kind of twofold. Like a lot of teachers end up being coaches, which you don't, speaking of budget, you don't get paid a lot of money usually to coach. And that, from my experience, the majority of the coaches are heavily underqualified, and actually usually they're terrible coaches. So there's somebody who played the sport and they're like, well, I can coach it now, and that's just not a good idea.
Okay.
Because it's just
Yeah, but when you
it's
guys
another
get paid so less,
underqualification.
though, I've coached before. It's been horrible pay.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It doesn't even cover your gas for what you have to drive around.
Well,
Yeah.
when I was coaching, I would always facilitate it with coaching private. Like, in other words, I coach soccer, so I would go coach Ohio Premier, right? So in other words, that was an avenue to get you the bigger buck job, which is the more of the private stuff. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, all right, Carrie, what do you got? No, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Well, and you bring, but you bring unique perspective, right? Because of teaching and coaching, and also being an athlete as well. Okay, in arts. Okay.
What's the question?
The question is in regards to support personnel inside the classroom and your educational supplies. How do you feel that Cleveland's doing on that?
Oh, zero. It's okay. So I went from Cuyahoga Falls to Cleveland. Cleveland has a if you're a first round teacher in the school that I was at, you had a $500 budget.
Okay. As far as materials?
Yeah, for K through 12.
Okay.
Or K through 8.
Okay.
So that's like nothing. And if you did, pay for your supplies, I mean, you do get reimbursed, but that's another thing. Like, you shouldn't be expected to pay for the materials for an educational system where they expect, they want the kids to succeed, and it's hard to supply them.
If
and
you don't have that to be able to put in, the kids are the ones suffering. If you're a
So
teacher that-
Exactly.
here's my question. So if I'm walking into an art class,
Yep.
right? I would expect there to
With
be
no sink, where I was, no sink.
There was no sink?
Nope.
That sucks. That's how do you even clean
And
up?
it's our room. Keep going.
So I would expect when I walk into an art class, I would expect, this is just me as
Being a
let's say
layman.
a 7th grader,
Yeah.
okay? I'd expect paint.
Yeah.
I'd expect markers, crayons, coloring pencils. I would expect all the cutters, clay, paper, all that.
Right.
Okay. You could burn as a parent of someone who is into all that stuff. You could burn through $500 in about 15 minutes. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I could see where that would be a huge frustration.
Right.
Okay.
And this is a
And
charter
that-
school.
That's without you guys getting into all the cutting stuff, like
is
what's
why
it,
I can't
linoleum and
stand
all that.
charter
You know, when you do
schools.
the cuts and all that
Yeah.
stuff and all that. So
And that's not even the point. The point is like just having access to materials that they could actually experiment with. Like, we were given, I mean, this is why I left charter schools, and I was in public schools, went to charter schools, and then charter schools. This is why Betsy DeVos irks me the most, because she thinks that charter schools are the best, where charter schools have nothing to offer these public education kids that need the help. They
Need the
don't
hands-on
have
learning.
anything. They don't have the money. They don't have the teachers that actually want to be there because they're not getting paid enough, and they're spending more time. The teachers are awesome, but they're just not. They're not getting paid. So there's an overturn. There's a huge overturn in.
okay, where are you with help in terms of assist, like guys like Tom? Do you have volunteers that come in, or anybody that helps with your district?
No.
So- Or is
No.
it specifically to art?
No, because I left just recently. I left Constellation, or the charter school, to go to the Catholic school.
Okay.
And the reason why I went there was because they were going to put me in a basement with no windows, no ventilation, nothing. Like, there was no. It would have been horrible for not
art,
only me but
from
my
an art
students.
standpoint.
And I even said that when they told me I was going to move down in the basement, and then I left. I mean,
Okay.
I resigned. So.
Rita?
Is this like science standpoint? So in a science classroom, you would expect to have tools to be able to do. I'm right here. I got this. We're good. I'm in. I promise. I'm in. I can hear myself. We're okay. So
I just want to help people. That's how it works.
I'm glad she's never been on the set when we had major sound issues.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry.
All right, go for it.
So science equipment, expecting to have stuff for dissection, doing all the different labs that we should have. We don't have them half the time. I'm in a brand new building. Like, I would expect to have that equipment. We had to go find it from different buildings, bring it in, and that makes it really hard. The kids are the ones suffering when you don't have that stuff. And then at that point, then you have to look at, well, we're supposed to be teaching hands-on learning to prepare them for these new hands-on tests that they're taking, which I'm segueing for you, because it is happening. The tests that for science, you literally have to click and drag and do all of these quote-unquote experiments electronically, and it's not possible because they can't even do it in the classroom. They don't get the hands-on. Yeah, we're done.
Do you have animals?
Yep.
Did you have animals?
No.
Okay.
There's
well, that's a whole other
there's
thing,
no
right?
way.
In a life science classroom, I
Right.
wanted to have as many animals as possible.
Absolutely.
So most of them were donated.
There's no donations.
Yes.
Okay, so when it comes, because I sat in on a couple of meetings when I was on PTA, and they talked about the funding.
Yes.
So in regards to the funding that comes into, especially the public schools, is it the state funding? Is it county funding? What kind of funding is it that is being reduced? Because I know when I was on PTA 2 years
state's
ago,
being
it was
reduced.
and so they were having to cut back. And
But that's what.
you had to get your orders in. Now, So, and then they never had it.
And that's what Betsy DeVos comes in, because she wants everything done at the state level. She doesn't want any federal money coming into the state, which is why she is so detrimental. She's like ruining the whole state funding with the federal funding. Like, they don't even give federal funding to anybody except for the Catholic
And
private.
charters.
And
Is it still the same? Is it still the same like it used to be, where, let's say you're getting ready to do next year's materials, you got to do a budget at the end of the year.
Right.
You still got to do that, right? Okay, and then it gets passed down, and then they approve or disapprove or whatever it is.
So I'm gonna chime in here because with science we have science fees. Now, look at our poverty rate and how many students are on free and reduced lunch. Would you like to know the building of East? Every single student qualifies for free and reduced lunch.
Right.
So therefore, every student technically gets a $5 waiver for the science fees that are required to be collected.
Okay.
Great. Do you know how many students return those waiver fees? Well, a lot of the parents are either illiterate or ESL, so they don't. I wasn't going there. They can't understand what the form is asking them because they feel like they have to reply their income or their wages, and they feel that a lot of them are private people, which I totally can understand.
Right,
And honestly, that's okay.
So they actually have to fill out the form and return it for you to get that.
That $5 to help
Betsy
buy
DeVos is basing everything off of
equipment.
The people that cannot, that are like, she thinks that this charter school is going to save everybody, but she doesn't. It's a way to like defer the money to their what would you call it? Their
I don't know. That's
unit based, and then not defer to like. There's more money that should be put into public education, but she's taking all that money, and if seems like they're going to want to like defer to something else, she's going to do that.
Okay. All right. We've got two more topics. One is standardized testing. Okay. And this is a toughie, right? I mean, it's been going on now it started with us. I mean, I took them. So you figure that's
Like Iowa Basic.
it's 30 years, right? And
Does it do anything?
yeah. So the point is, one of the biggest drawbacks that I heard recently, and we did a whole big spiel on school safety, gun violence, and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that a bunch of teachers had commented in on that show, and it was in regards to the fact that what standardized testing does is it requires teachers, and I don't want to say to teach to the test, but that's the term that's used. And so, in other words, you're trying to gear this kid up so much for the success of them being able to complete and do well on that test for the funding and all that, for all additional. There's lots of reasons, but as a result, you're not getting that individual one-on-one interaction that you should be with that person, with that kid. And that is where the personal interaction doesn't come in, and therefore there's disconnect there.
It's not official assessment.
And then I'm
So,
going to chime in.
Mike's got something. I thought you were reaching.
I may be wrong on this, but this
Okay.
is just what I've learned with experience. Is if a child has an IEP, their test scores do not matter in the calculation, because there have been times where I know they're focusing on the test, and this child has been removed to work on something else or whatever, because whether she passes the test or doesn't pass the test doesn't go with the curriculum.
We got it. Go ahead.
So here's the thing with that. I'm gonna give you a little quick pick because I was testing coordinator. One of the things that used to apply, but it doesn't. They actually still have to pass the test. It's
There's
just
no timeline though on it.
There's no timeline
because a third grader used to have to pass the test to go on. Yes. Well, the third grader did not pass in fourth grade either, and she's still going to fifth grade
because she took it twice. That's the stipulation if a student has an IEP. They have to attempt the test twice, and then they're exempt. Okay. But it has to be written in there on their
But I don't want that child exempt. Like, I want her to be at the same standards as everyone else.
Then that's something as a parent you have the right to push for.
Okay.
And that's the thing that can happen.
I got a comment here from Scott, friend of show, who's been on the show for fitness. He's commenting to my man Mike. Look at that wonderful, beautiful stash. so let's hear it for Mike's stash. All right. So I got.
Let's do an experiment.
All right. Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
One thing about standardized testing is there has to be some sort of accountability. And that's why they started, right? Because there were whole populations of students that
Oh,
were
and I
being
agree.
passed on through the system. So there
Yes.
has to be some type of accountability.
Yes.
But the question is, what do you do with those results, and what do those results really measure?
And
Well,
how should they be used to quantify or qualify the education system for that student?
Right. So
Yeah.
20 years ago, when my kids were in elementary school here at Case, I was concerned when the state of Ohio was expanding standardized testing. And I actually studied the 600 and some odd school districts in the state of Ohio. And sure enough, the test scores, the percentage of students who passed the tests is most closely related to the percentage of students that got free and reduced lunch. This was 20 years ago.
Yep. Yeah.
And there's a good reason for that, and that is that the tests aren't measuring the performance of the teachers or the performance of the curriculum.
No.
They're measuring the whole life history of a student. And unfortunately, our students that are coming out of poverty are not
They're not worried about a
statistically
test.
in the
How
place
could
to
they
learn
measure
at the
the-
same level as the
No.
students
How
coming
could
out of
they
the
measure
middle
it?
class.
They're
and
worried
upper
about where their
class.
next meal comes from. They're
Yeah,
worried
how
about
could they measure
how they're going to get a
teachers? It's
shower.
so absurd.
Right.
This is what
So,
it is.
so my point is, we need to have accountability somehow. We got to start working to understand what those tests
Accountability
measure,
for whom?
and
The teachers?
well, we have to measure where the student's at,
Yes.
and understand how the students are moving forward in their academic life.
So I have two comments from our audience. Comment one is from Lori. It says, we need to prioritize more mental health support and counseling services in schools.
Okay,
I-
okay, go
That's a
on.
whole different thing. But I think she's
specializes in that.
yeah, she's a
But I can
guidance
see
counselor.
that's something
Yeah.
that's very true. We have, especially when you look at poverty.
Right, but and that's the thing. Like poverty is should be the main issue, not the testing of the kids. It should be the poverty that the government, if they're going to test kids, then let's come in and see the socioeconomic places where
Yeah.
these kids
Well, and then
are born.
that's the next question it's from Scott, and it says, how does standardized testing work with the No Child Left Behind Act?
No Child Left Behind no longer exists
Yeah,
technically.
they should
Okay.
be left behind. No, I'm
Yeah,
just
that,
kidding.
well, that act should be left behind. But
Some
so
of
it's
them
now
should.
Every Student Succeeds Act is the new thing that came through with Obama.
But see,
Unfortunately, it doesn't.
but how is that? So the child takes it twice and then is still at that lower level. Where does that come
See,
in?
that's where that IEP should be focusing on that student to help them get to that growth.
But
and if
what-
they're not showing it, that's the next issue.
But why don't people focus more on the people that are putting these issues in place rather than we understand the kids at the bottom level and we're trying to get them to a point where they can succeed, but yet the people that keep putting it up at the top are pushing us down to the point where okay, well, we're doing the best that we can. That's what I can't stand about the superintendents and the principals. They're not sticking up for the teachers that say, hey, look, you know what? We're doing what we can to get these kids to a certain level, but yet you guys aren't meeting us halfway, and they're just
So there's some frustration there, of course.
yeah, absolutely. And
The
I'm a
system
art
isn't
teacher.
perfect. The
Which
system
the
isn't
system
perfect.
No, the
And
system
that's-
isn't
that's the
perfect.
problem.
Nothing's perfect.
And there's
Nothing
no
should be
simple
perfect.
fix either, because when you look at all of our systems, when you look at all of our systems, they're all flawed. Okay.
There's a gray line. Right
Well,
now.
that literally segues us into my next topic. Okay, so, and I'm gonna try and do this
Through it quick.
as non-politically and as non-emotionally as possible. Now, for those of you that do know me and you know that what I cover and you know that what I stand for, I've been a LeBron supporter and a LeBron advocate and a LeBron apologist now for years and years and years. I know. So the point is, though, I now over the last 5 to 10 years, I have learned how to categorize LeBron in terms of Eggo waffle categories. So I literally put him into different categories. I look at LeBron the man, I look at LeBron the father and the husband, I look at LeBron the philanthropist, and I look at LeBron the basketball player and the businessman. So he's this broad variety of people all in one, all right? So when I look at what he does, I agree with most of the things he does, okay? father and husband, you never see him in the news. He's never had a scandal. He's done everything he can to raise his family, and he does the best that he can to stay on point with his kids. And he's done it without the benefit of being raised by a father, and he was raised in a situation that we are all now well aware of was less than ideal. Okay, he was raised in almost a ghetto situation, with his mom, and and I'm not going to talk about his mom in regards to her behavior growing up or not, or what that all entailed to. But the point is, he's had help along the way to get back on the track, and he has, in my opinion, from a life standpoint and a man standpoint, I think he's found a good track. Okay, when I look at him from a business standpoint and from a basketball standpoint, he, as a basketball player, has held the Cavs organization hostage from the moment he got drafted. And as a result, we now have had up and down situations where, we are literally left with scorched earth every time he comes in and decides to grace us with his presence from a basketball standpoint. And from a business standpoint, I don't disagree. I know, hold on. I don't because he's never. I'm a scorned fan right now. Yeah, the fact, but by not taking a long-term contract at any point in his entire career and going from 1 year to 1 year to 1 year is the reason that the Cavs exist the way that they do now, and we couldn't compete with the Golden State Warriors.
Thank God you did that.
All right, the point is.
Okay, next subject. Back on topic.
My point is, when I look at the hold on, hold on. When I look at the I Promise School. When I look at I did. Well, sit down at least. You're getting all intimidating on me.
I'm like, I'm cowering. I'm not even the one in the conversation.
When I look at the I Promise School, I think the I Promise School is a
school with LeBron James. Don't give me this shit.
No, hold on. When I look at the I Promise, School,
is this still on?
When I look at the I Promise School,
it was okay.
I think boss said it was okay. I think the idea. Oh, thank you. Jeremy's tuning in right now, so chime in on this, Jeremy, and so is Tim. I think that the I Promise School is a fantastic idea.
Absolutely.
I was there for its opening to cover the opening.
Absolutely.
My son is a part of the I Promise program.
Absolutely.
My son has should I tell him he's got a bicycle? He's got a LeBron bicycle, okay? All the I Promise kids have bike. I don't want his stolen, okay? My point is, I don't want to chime people in,
I've been
right?
posting this stuff.
No, not you guys.
You should. This is like...
No, I have done this repeatedly for years.
No, I'm saying...
I have done nothing but defend LeBron at every corner.
No, okay, so what's your...
So now here we are. It's I Promise Week. I'm there to cover it.
Nobody heard me.
And 2 days later, the big story breaks that, oh, by the way, this is an Akron public school. It's not funded by the LeBron James Family Foundation. They handled all the renovations. But now it's in our lap as taxpayers to pay for that school. And 75% to 80%. What? It's an Akron public school. It's in conjunction with the Akron Public Schools, which, by the way, we're paying 75%. Hold on. And it's 80-20. And now we have to allocate resources from other schools. We have to allocate dollars from other schools. Yeah. So now teachers are leaving from other buildings.
100% funded by LeBron.
The way that it's been portrayed by the media.
I agree.
Has been LeBron opened
this.
this.
For the teachers?
No,
He's
this
not
is
Akron teachers. No.
This is an Akron public
teachers.
school.
It was perceived and
yeah, that was
very differently.
It's breaking news. The last 2 days, the last 3 days. And now hold on. So Tom is here because Tom's got very good information to help us understand this. So please take it away.
So I've been paying close attention to the I Promise School. That's right. It'll be go right here. I've been paying close attention to the I Promise School since it was announced a little over a year ago, or about a year ago.
Okay.
And I've always understood it as a public school because I was paying attention and aware of it until the big publicity blew up worldwide just the last couple of weeks. The building that the school is in is an Akron Public Schools building. It has been used for years.
Can any student go there? Can I open enroll my child there?
It used to be McDonald's, and then the Akron Public Schools bought it. And my son's been there for the last 2 years while Case has been being rebuilt.
The swing space.
Harris was there.
But if it was a public school, if it's an Akron public school, why can't my child open enroll there?
So, I'm not 100% expert on this, but I think that I'm accurate here, and I'll correct it in the comments if I'm wrong. Akron Public Schools has a couple of specialty schools.
So it's like a
one is the
South
STEM school. So the STEM school is one. and this I Promise School is the other. Miller South is a little bit different because Miller South is by audition.
Yeah, since it's an audition
Yeah,
specialty.
the STEM school and the I Promise school take a certain population of students that are eligible, and yes, that's the population that's eligible,
Okay.
and then they're selected by lottery
Okay.
to ensure that there's diversity of students from all the regions in the
Within the
in the
district.
district, and they have the right
Yes.
demographics in the classroom of whatever format. It might be just where they live. So
Okay.
anyway, so no, you cannot
So
open
it's,
and enroll your
it's like
student.
a private public school.
No, it's a specialty school.
A specialty school is a
with
good way to put it. Okay.
The I Promise school, it is also based on the most at risk, and like with the new coming in, at least the way I've read it,
Right.
is that it's the most at risk starting at third grade for those who are not meeting the standards and requirements for them.
And that's the question I
And
asked.
they have to live in Akron.
Primarily in reading.
Yes, reading and
most
math.
of the children who tested in were 2 years behind in reading.
Yeah.
But that-
And the children who came in, of the ones that came in, 240 came in, 120 from each grade. But there were more kids than that they had tested, but they selected that group.
They have to
via
live in Akron.
lottery.
Yes.
And
Now,
that-
so the other thing there that when I said that they have to qualify to get in the school, they aren't qualifying based on need or race or anything. It's the academic
It's the academic
qualification
factor.
is what qualifies them to be in the lottery, and then once they're in the lottery, they get selected.
And that was the question I asked on Facebook that you respond to, and that's part of the reason you're here. And that was how are kids selected? Okay, because it's right now it's 240, right? 240 is what they're starting with. So
Think of it as 120.
120
in
and
each
120,
grade, in
correct.
each grade.
So I'm
Which
thinking,
grades are they?
and
So
Third and fourth.
So they select
Third
them.
and fourth.
They select
So that
them
building
in
only is holding third and fourth.
for right now.
This year.
Hold on. They select them at the end of second grade.
Okay.
So the fourth graders that go there today were actually selected in part of the I Promise program last year when they were in third grade going to their own schools.
correct.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right. The fifth graders aren't going into that school. And
Third and fourth.
the fifth through 10th graders, they're staying in their home schools
That
that
are
are
still
part of
part
the,
of the.
Yes, these are
that are
all
part
new
of the
kids.
right.
Yeah.
But
And-
next year they're going to select another 120, and then they'll have
So
third,
this
fourth, and
100
fifth
this
graders.
Right.
120 Well,
How come they
they
didn't go-
said about what was it, third and fourth, and they were going to do a second grade and a
Right.
second
So
grade, but
so
fourth
when
and
in whatever year,
Yes.
whatever year they're going to add second graders, first graders, and maybe
I had
kindergarten.
no
So they are going to add it
Yeah.
to do it.
they're supposed to have what, 2 grades each year
Wait,
until it is first through 8.
And then, well, hold on, and then look at my kid,
Right.
right?
why are they doing that? Why are they slowly introducing them?
To fill the school.
To
because
fill the
it's a pilot
school. Hey,
and they're
hey,
building it.
the reason why is because
Building
they
the
have to
population.
fill it with teachers and resources from all the other schools because it's an Akron public school.
So what is LeBron funding?
He
of the
fund
school?
their basic
idea?
funding. When I looked into it,
Remodeling?
it was the remodel and the renovation and the look and there are other organizations like Chase Bank and
Okay.
there's a bunch of other organizations that are all donors. But the point is those all go. Whoa, he just. those all that money is being put into fluff, like resource fluff, where the guts and the running of the school falls on the Akron public school system and our own budget and our own teachers and our own allocation. Now we look at my son, perfect example, right? He's in 5th grade now, right?
Do you know?
I don't even remember.
He's going into 5th grade.
He's going into 5th grade. He was introduced in a program in 3rd grade. He was in that building for the last 2 years while they've been redoing case. During that time process, your girl went and cut after school programs across the country, okay? And as after school programs got cut, the LeBron James Family Foundation stepped in and said, we will provide the LeBron James Hard Work Club. The I Promise kids, not the regular kids across the Akron Public District, but the I Promise kids were given the extra schooling and the extra after-school help, okay, to get up to speed. My kid went from reading at like a 2nd and 3rd grade below level, whatever number he was at, like which was like way down here, and he went. So he's today he wouldn't qualify to be a part of the program. Huh?
How's that go again?
All right. The point is,
the
the
thing
program
about-
with my son, the program. No, listen. With my son, the program worked. It worked exactly the way it's supposed to. You took a kid that was deficient in reading. He was given all kinds of extra help and supportive. No, hold on. He was given all kinds of supportive and extra resources, and now he's being successful in the program. But my point is, to your point, and that is, how do you select those kids now to be a part of the program? Because I'm looking at kid number 241 and 242. Okay.
No, he's talking.
No, what I'm saying
about
is
kids that miss
they're
out.
not at that school. They're not going to be getting all that POS resource treatment, and they're probably going to be the kids that are falling through the cracks.
So we talked about this
'Kay.
Earlier in our conversation tonight, and that has to do with funding priorities. So,
You don't think it's
so-
anything but individual?
So he's talking about the one kid that was in the lottery that didn't get selected. Or however many kids weren't selected. They didn't have the same opportunities that Hank's son had to get the extra help in the same way. But
they do.
We
They get it through the regular Akron Public School.
But he just said that funding was cut.
the extra help. The extra help.
The after school
So
program.
what happens now
We don't
to?
know that. This
So-
is the first year for the I Promise School, so we don't know. This year, when we go through the school year, are they still going to have the hard work club? That'll prove your point there. If
But-
they don't have the
So-
hard work
so-
club.
My question there is, he just said that his son is now on track, and now, but he will stay an I Promise kid, correct? Or does he get kind of de-promoted off the I Promise in that
No,
education?
he stays. He's in. Once
But
you're
then
in, you're in.
where's that funding? So your child, when your child was selected into this, there was a certain amount of whatever given to this child, but this child is now on level. Why should this child still get all that support? Shouldn't it go to another child that's still behind?
That's a valid question.
Valid
Valid
question. But
Not that your kid don't deserve a bike, but
Well, no, and he got the bike, right? And if he stays in Akron,
And the helmet?
and a helmet,
And a helmet.
if he stays
So-
in Akron, he will get a full ride to Akron.
but now he's on level. Not that he wouldn't deserve that, but I just don't get where you say.
Because it's taking the
So let-
kids in third grade when they're at their most vulnerable and giving them a base to move forward, but not getting them in and then pulling out the support from underneath them.
I agree. I agree that it
Continuing to
shouldn't be
provide-
pulled out, but
It's continuing
So-
to provide that support, and the kids who are staying on track are mainly getting the letters from LeBron. They're like, "Hey, great job! I saw
Okay.
your test scores are awesome." I mean, don't take
Okay.
what him being in a program is getting extra special stuff all the time. He's gotten letters. Yeah, he got a bike, but we went and attended the family thing. To
Oh,
get
yeah.
the bike. Okay.
oh yeah,
so-
no, I don't think that you're just handed all this stuff. I just
Oh,
didn't
we
know
are.
how that funding.
Oh no, we are.
so
that
let's
funding is.
talk about the
Didn't
100
you get Cavs tickets too or something?
We've been to Cavs games. We've been to.
let's talk about the 120 students for a moment, all right? Because there's 120
All
students.
right, I'm out.
Thank
Good night,
you for
Gary.
being here.
Are we
Thank
done
you.
on this?
Yeah, you're great. You were great. So wait, bye. Now,
I could tell you more about Betsy DeVos.
Oh my.
I can't stand.
thank you so much for being here. We'll sign off in a little bit. Okay.
All right. So nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Safe trip home.
So if we talk about the 120 students, when they're selected, they all needed help in reading. And of course, some are going to do better and some are going to do worse. And in third grade, they all get a certain amount of support. In fourth grade, presumably, fewer of the students need the support because
Yeah.
some of them have achieved, and fewer. That's just how it will
Exactly.
be funded. It's not that he's ineligible for the support, or it's not that there's extra money available now because half of the students are at grade level. It's budgeted for providing half the support in sixth grade because
Okay.
they only needed half.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
My-
sense.
But the
again-
important aspect of that is how can we get those same types of supports
That's where I'm at.
to
so,
the other students
And
that are
not,
attending
and
Acton
not
Public
just in that
Schools.
district.
Yeah.
All districts, because it's something that we're seeing in other districts.
So
that
I'm in a
need
very
help.
good school district, and the schoolings, they're not failing, but I can't get that support. I have to go to private tutoring and private, and
that you're paying
that
for.
I'm paying for out of my pocket. And to be honest, I don't know if it's good tutoring. Like, I can tell you, my child went for a year to a private tutor that's very popular. I'm not going to mention it. And she got nowhere. And she went for 6 months, and I took her there 3 times a week and poured all of this in there, and she got nothing. So just making sure that I wish that those, and I'm not saying it has to be LeBron, but just in general, I wish there was more information for parents like me who are just searching for help for my child who's 2 years behind.
Well, and so here's a good thing just from the kind of the research side, which is more my background.
Yeah.
Now that you have a school like this, you can start quantifying this stuff more. So you can
Okay.
start seeing how, okay, these, 120 kids in this grade, this 120 kids in this grade, they jumped 2 reading levels and then they're back on par. Then you can actually look at what they did specifically.
Okay.
And then you can
More as a
start,
technique
yes,
viewing.
because that way you can kind of evolve the teaching as it goes. Just because a lot of like science-oriented, especially in the exercise phys world, there's always evolving research. Something new's coming out, they're developing, they're tweaking. So this could be very pivotal in that aspect, because I wholeheartedly agree that, yes, these kids are going to get a little bit different treatment that could easily, bump them up because they were behind. So how do we translate it to everybody else? So now that if we can actually sit there and be like, look, we had 240 kids, all of them were 1 to 3 levels below where they should be. Now they're all on par or above. What did you do different? And then it can go, okay, this can go to this district. You can use that exact technique.
And I do
What's the
agree.
teaching staff doing? What kind of training? Because they
Yeah,
went,
but
they
it's-
went in and had their own
yeah.
kind of training and.
I mean,
Right.
it was
So
an
the,
audition to
the
the school.
curriculum in the I
They had an
Promise
audition.
school is a little bit different than the
Okay.
curriculum in the other schools because they do their classroom schedules are a little bit different in the third,
Just
fourth
to
grade.
kind of see what's working and
And
what's.
to do things that I think have been piloted in other regions of the country and doing them here. But the extra support that Hank's son has had access to over the last couple of years is actually provided by nonprofits in town that already provide similar services to other students. It's just making sure it's available for these students.
Yeah.
So we
That they have
can
access to.
work
I just-
together to expand those programs to get enough tutors, to get enough
We get into.
Yeah.
food service. The I Promise School is going to have a food bank. So
I
how
heard
many
they
of
were
our
having a
kids
food
are
pantry.
hungry, and how can we effectively deliver
And-
food or make sure that students are adequately fed throughout the city and in the other communities? And what is a food bank in the school a good delivery method? That goes to Mike's comment about researching it. Is a food bank in the school a good delivery method? Is going to school from 8 to 5 every day, being in the school building, this isn't classroom time, being in the school building from 8 to 5 every day, an effective way to help students
So just more of a
be more
research and
successful.
training.
So.
Well, but the other thing
I
that
guess
they
the-
look at when they do that is some of these kids, because the lady who used to work at Case that handled some of the relationships with the food bank said, some of these kids, the only meal they get is when they come from
Right.
breakfast at school and lunch at school.
Oh yeah.
And don't they have the take home meal for the weekend, right?
Even like
they do.
Wadsworth
It's a
schools,
book bag.
there's a
They
lot
knew
of
to
schools that
send-
do that.
They knew to send the food home with in the evening, so.
A lot of local churches provide that. We had like 10 kids, 15 kids were called down, and they would get a book bag, and it would have a loaf of bread, peanut butter, jelly, crackers.
And there's a lot of
Like
districts that do
granola
that.
bars
I
and
know
stuff, yeah.
Wadsworth School District,
Yeah.
they get sent home food.
So I
Like
think-
there's even districts you wouldn't think.
I think even with all the quirks of looking at who's handling the original funding, who's doing this, who's doing that, who's paying taxes on whatever, you've got this initial model that is showing everybody a way to promote children in a better way with education. It's also providing education for their parents, because it's not just for the kids. You've also got
The
adult
GED
classes
programs.
I heard that,
can
yeah.
happen.
Well-
And then you've got
But I
the
guess what
access-
Hank's
you've
question
got the
was,
access
though-
to the food,
What-
but you have a model that you may not agree with the way it's being funded, but you have a model that starts something that will gradually grow into the community and be better for our children, and I think that's more of the focus.
Yes, and I agree that that should be a focus, but I think kind of what Hank was saying was more of like, look at him all sitting
I'm
up.
not
'cause
saying this is the first time I've been able to get a word in edgewise.
Is
I've heard what Hank is saying, and like, okay.
No, because before you go on, I have a point. Tom, go ahead and wave at the camera, and you're waving at Chris Parker. It
Hello,
says,
Chris.
"Tell Tom Gender hi from me. I grew up living behind his family in Middleburg Heights." So hello to
Hello,
Chris.
Nice to hear from you.
All right, so go ahead.
I guess the
Connect with me on Facebook.
Yeah.
The understanding that I was getting from what the question you were asked is, I do think that the model sounds great. What they're doing for the parents, what they're doing for the kids, all of that sounds wonderful. But there was a idea with it being called the
That's my
LeBron
thing. That's my whole
School,
thing.
that it wasn't an Akron public. It was more of like he was maybe opening his own like Lady of the Elms, like his
And
own private school. It was kind of what the idea was. It had nothing to do with the model. I'm sure he had play in that and decisions and made some decisions, and that's great. But funding wise, living in Akron, I thought it was I had no idea it was connected to
So
Akron Public.
I think that's mainly a publicity and media issue.
I'm getting
as
pointed
far
at
as
and a dirty
as far
look.
as how it got approached throughout the media, I will tell you that there are other school districts throughout the country that have similar models that have extended school days or extended school year to reduce summer melt, that have wraparound support services delivered within the schools. Say Yes to Education in Buffalo and Syracuse has similar wraparound services right there in the schools. So there's a lot of models out there. And so, yeah, the publicity over the last week really exploded and didn't really make it clear it's a public school. But these public schools where the students get a standard public education with tweaks to the curriculum like they have in all different schools, like in Miller South we talked about, or vocational ed, or the art school, Akron School of the Arts, STEM school. But the wraparound services around what's happening at the I Promise school, I believe, are game changers for the
I
students
agree.
of Akron.
I completely agree
And those
with
are
that.
not funded by Akron
No.
Public Schools. Those
So
are funded
basically, my
by
understanding is
that's
he just
the
other
thing is
agencies.
You have to look at the fact that it was an I Promise school
There's so much to
that
say.
was in the brainchild of Akron Public School and in LeBron, and they were able to mesh it together. And because he brought in his funding, it happened. That was on both sides, but they didn't have enough over here. And because he came in, and you had all these other corporate sponsors come in because of him, bam! Now we have this.
The idea was great. The thought that they're also helping the parents get degrees is fantastic.
Got air conditioned now. We're all melting.
The issue that I have is
I am in a melt.
we were not made aware that we were paying for it. And that's not a problem, but it will be.
Well,
I think
it's
Because-
not an increase in cost.
Not yet. Not yet, because those resources haven't been taxed yet.
No,
But
no,
also-
it's we have a
We added a
cost-
whole school building.
But
Well,
no.
the
Literally.
building already
No,
existed.
time out on that.
And they built all these
But it
things.
didn't, because it was taking the place of the other places. No, listen, time out. I'm looking at every piece of staff resource there. Hold on. Let me finish the thought. 120 is three or four classes, right? So you 3 or 4 classes. So you're talking 10 more teachers. You're talking a couple more administrators
It's not
per
more
for the-
teachers. It's the same number of teachers per student.
You have to realize this. You really need to let me fix this for you.
Go for it. Go
Okay,
for
you
it.
ready?
Yeah.
So you need to realize we took 120 students from 2 grade levels out of other
Other
buildings.
buildings.
So
got less.
you have less students in those buildings. Therefore, your
Teacher-to-student
desire,
ratio is down.
your-
Wasn't that a
But
complaint
you still need more
for us?
personnel.
you do not.
You still need more people.
You need an
You
extra
don't.
janitor.
You need those teachers.
You need an
Those
extra
teachers came
janitor
from other buildings.
and extra principal.
Right. Exactly.
No,
That's
she
my
came
whole
from another
point.
building that was
They
no
had to be
longer needed.
replaced.
No, they
Then
don't
what-
have to be
You're
replaced.
decreasing the teacher-student ratio.
I don't buy that for a second.
Can you
I
imagine what
literally don't even buy that for half a millisecond, because the problem is you're only
That's
taking a
what
couple.
happened to me.
But you're taking a couple from here, a couple from there, a couple from here.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the teacher ratio of
But it
those
does.
buildings.
Yes, what was the complaint we got our first grade year with Wyatt?
I don't know.
How many? She had too many kids in the class.
Great. Okay.
Okay,
30
so
had
it was
42.
overwhelming to her. It was way too many.
42
But
in a
when you
science
decrease
classroom.
that and you
Try to do
take
labs.
the kids
As
who are
as
in
the
desperate need
as
of
he
more
pointed out,
focused attention,
over
you
the
pull them
over
out.
time, we're going to pay for that building.
So if
and
there are-
you're not going to pay for it because you don't live in Akron.
Yeah. If
You
there
are past the line. I'm in the line.
Yeah.
And the people that
You're
are
the bike and I don't.
So hey,
the
I
people,
checked out Walmart bikes.
I'm looking at this from the standpoint of here's the kids that you're taking out. Listen, the kids that you're taking out of these areas are the underprivileged kids, and those are the underprivileged families, and those are literally the people that are going to be paying for this building. Is what my point is.
so Hank.
Technically,
Yeah,
I'm
listen.
not gonna go there, but
So if
I'm
we
technically
have
paying
the
for
number
that
of
then.
students in the
They're
classroom,
privileged.
I don't know what the number of students in the classroom are, but I'm going to just say if the standard in the school district is to have between 18 and 20,
Okay.
then there were some classes in the past that had 20 students
Right.
and some that had 18.
Oh, something had even.
And she had 42.
42
Yeah,
in a
but
science
I'm
classroom.
just talking about assuming they were meeting the standard, because if they weren't meeting the standard, that's a different issue. But if they were meeting the standard,
Well, they would meet the standard, but they would exceed it a little
No,
bit.
no,
Not
I-
to the point where they needed another teacher for
right?
another
So
room.
so now if
Yeah.
you take 2 students from 10 overpopulated classrooms and create a new classroom. Then you hire that teacher that you were supposed to have hired anyway.
Okay.
And that was probably already existed in some tutoring capacity or
Yep.
some other capacity.
Was already in
So you
building.
really just, if you have 500 students and the standard's 20, that's what, 25 teachers. Now we still have 500 students and we still have 25 teachers. Just 5 of them or
Are in
4
a
of them
different building.
are in a different building.
That
So
does
we,
make sense.
so
I'm going to buy that for now, but I'm telling you, at the end of the day, I know we're going to pay for it in the long run, and it's not now.
But here's,
Wait, I have a question in regards
I'm not even going to go there on the live.
As far as
It's best not
funding,
to.
is funding affected by the
I'm not.
grades your school gets?
No.
No.
Not at all.
No. No,
So
that's not.
Schools that are in worse shape don't get
So-
less
schools that are rated by the Ohio State government,
Yeah, it's by
what
government.
their grade is,
Yes.
no, they don't get less money.
money. Okay, and
Okay.
I wasn't sure because I know that.
But it's not a school that's in worse shape. It's a school that has a grade.
Yeah,
I'm
has
going to
a
eat more Oreos after this. Come on, Sierra.
They're in the kitchen.
You got something? Okay. All right.
Stressing
I'm
me
just
out.
sitting back. I'm
All right,
just
all right.
Sweating, stressing out.
All right. So at this point, we're over on.
Do it again.
that would have been great.
We're,
No, we
we're,
can have the knockdown drag out later.
we're over on showtime.
I'm going to get the
So
whole pack.
we're gonna do closing thoughts. So we'll go around the table and end with me. So we'll start.
Of course, we always end with you, Hank.
I got to do that part. Okay.
I think I could read that for you if you needed it.
Oh
read.
my gosh. All right. So Tom, we'll start with
He's
you
gonna give a hard
on
time.
Oreo.
synopsis on the night. Go ahead and give us your final thoughts on the state of education in and around the area.
So we talked a little bit about funding priorities. I think that we have a good opportunity to utilize the Akron I Promise School to look at models that I hope that we can expand not only throughout the city but throughout the community. And LeBron said that actually in the opening too, that these ideas we want to form and we want to develop and we want to have. And my advocacy here is I want to do it sooner rather than later. What are we going to do next year for the students of Akron Public Schools?
Okay. All right. Pass the mic.
So, I mean, something along those lines too. We have better models now. We can do more research. We can figure out what's going to work better. And that's the key, is just trying to get better. We always got to work towards getting better and better and better. So definitely not getting stagnant and finding a way to make teachers more happy, to fund more, to work on the education and bringing up the next generation. Because if we leave them too far behind, they'll be the ones in power in 20, 30 years. Do you really want that? So, I mean, it's finding that balance point where we can get the people who need the most help up to the same level so everyone can succeed. You know, you're only as good as your weakest player, your weakest link. So it's about bringing it up to build a better community, a smarter community, and that won't hurt anybody. Highly intelligent people, having more of them is never a bad thing.
Okay. I'll sum up for Carrie. Devos, thumbs down. Okay.
That was the right on.
All right.
Right on.
Perfect, 100%.
All right.
Yep. And
Re-
make sure you're in the mic.
I was. All right. Reed.
She kept grabbing my head to pull it in.
Yeah, she just wanted to touch your bald head, man.
She said she was an art teacher and she needed to touch it.
She's got to touch stuff. All right, Rita, you're up.
I guess my thing is, as an educator, we are constantly learning, and education needs to continue to learn. We are not going. We can't stand stagnant, like you said. I mean, that is a huge thing. We need to keep taking each new day and learn something new from it. We've learned from the past. Learn from your mistakes. Don't regret it. Just move forward. And I think as an educator, that's what we have to do.
Woo! Give me some!
I have so many questions now that I never even thought I had.
Okay. That's your summary?
Yeah, pretty much. No, I just didn't realize like all of the different aspects and all that. I had no idea how teachers got paid. I brought my own opinions on my daughter and things that I'm not happy with, and I did not realize how much played into it. And I will not complain about 18 glue sticks ever again to my teachers. So yeah, like I did not realize they paid. Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible.
Okay.
I don't think parents realize all that goes into it, what's going on in behind the scenes, and how, I often would hear teachers don't get paid enough, but it kind of went in one ear and out the other and kind of was like, thank goodness summer's over, here's my kid, like type of thing. So.
I think you need to volunteer in a room. Then you will see.
I think in 2 weeks.
There's a reason I work with dogs.
I think in 2 weeks there are tens of thousands of Fortnite accounts that are going to go dormant. All right, so my closing thoughts on the topic per se. Do you want to give yours?
No.
All right. So my closing thought is this. At the end of the day, this can all be summed up in the fact that we are all here for one reason discussing this topic, and that is the kids.
Mm-hmm.
We all want kids to be successful. And in my opinion, in my humble opinion, as we continue as a society to work better, to better our education system and create opportunities for children to become more successful, on the end of that, on the other end, it will reduce the prison populations. It will reduce violence in the streets. It will reduce racism. It will reduce the void that exists between humanity right now that we are constantly complaining about on Facebook. It will literally help us become a better society if we base our efforts onto providing an opportunity for every child to be successful in life. It's an incredibly important concept, and I think a lot of it gets lost in the rhetoric, and a lot of it gets lost in the politics. So if I were to leave you all with that thought, it is the fact that do your best to help not just your children, but all children succeed.
Yeah.
So once again, folks, we've had a lot of fun here tonight and some not so fun, but that was a very interesting topic. Not sure where we go from here, but it was nice to share thoughts on these topics as well. But make sure you tune in next week as we're going to be given full access. Danny and Buzz will be live from Canal Park at Akron Rubber Duck Stadium, giving a full behind-the-scenes tour of everything that Akron Rubber Duck Stadium has to offer. But until then, I don't know where I'm going, but there ain't no sense in being late. Everybody, say goodnight, Shirley.
Good night, Shirley.
This podcast is a copyright of Moon Garden Media.
Production by
Steve Bader.
Steve Bader.
Thanks, Moon Man.
Oh, just a lot of peanut butter.